Now, good afternoon, good morning. How are you? Now, nouns can be fascinating and interesting at the same time. Now, I'm pretty sure there are some of the things that you've never been told about nouns. But if you've had some of these things I'm going to tell you about nouns, then I believe you must be a genius. So I'll tell you 10 facts, 10 interesting and fascinating facts about nouns that you have never heard about. But if you've heard about them, then as I said earlier, you must be a genius. Now, number one thing that you will never be told about noun. Now, one interesting thing about nouns is that they trace back to the Old English roots. And when I talk about old interesting roots, I mean we have words that have been there for more. I don't know if you knew this, but in nouns we have words that have been there for more than 1,000 years. We have words like stone, house, and day. Now that's one interesting fact about noun, and I don't know if you knew about it. Old English roots trace words like stone, words like day, and words like house, which have been there for more than 1,000 years. Now, number two interesting fact about nouns is that this word right down here is the longest noun that has ever been. This word right here is the longest noun that has ever been. Now, I don't know if you knew that. Now, look at that noun. Can you pronounce it? Are you able to pronounce that noun correctly? And if you're able to pronounce that noun correctly, then I think you must be a genius. Now, this longest noun is actually a lung disease that is caused by inhaling dust, and actually is the longest noun that has ever been. And if you think you have any other long noun that surpasses this, then let us know down in the comments. Let's know if there's any other noun that surpasses this. That's number two interesting fact about nouns. Now, number three, which I know that most of us have actually heard about it, is that nouns can be countable and nouns can also be uncountable. And I'm sure most of us understand when I say nouns can be countable and nouns can also be uncountable. Now, countable is actually from the word count. We have nouns that we can be able to count. And actually, when we talk about nouns that we can be able to count, we're actually talking about nouns that can be both in singular and in their plural form. Now, some of the examples of nouns that can be countable are nouns like apple can be apples, a noun like car, it can be cars, a noun like desk can be desks. So we can distinguish nouns and say that some nouns can be countable while others cannot be counted. And most of the time, uncountable nouns will never have their plural. They'll always be in one formation. For example, when we talk about water, water cannot be pluralized. So water will just be water. We can have an example like happiness. Those feelings, happiness, a feeling of happiness, feeling of sadness, those nouns cannot be pluralized. And that's why we say that in nouns you'll find that some can be counted, while some other nouns cannot be counted. And that's why we say nouns can be countable and nouns can be uncountable. And I'm pretty sure that you can also be able to distinguish the nouns that we can be able to count and the nouns that we are not able to count. That's another interesting fact about nouns. Another interesting fact, which is should be number 4. And this one, I'm sure that most of us know it, and most of us are actually geniuses and can be able to tell the difference. Now, nouns can also be concrete and nouns can also be abstract. What do we mean when we say nouns can be concrete and nouns can also be abstract? Now, when we talk about concrete nouns, we are simply referring to things that we can touch and things that we can feel physically. Are we together? And when we talk about nouns that are now abstract, those ones we now refer to ideas, we refer to feelings, we refer to concepts. And that makes the difference between abstract and concrete nouns. When you talk about concrete, we are talking about nouns that we can be able to feel them, we can touch them, we can be able to see them physically. Those are concrete nouns. And the abstract nouns are now nouns that we can just be able to refer to as ideas, concepts, feelings. When you talk about examples of abstract nouns, we'll talk about words like freedom, we'll talk about love, we'll talk about sadness, we'll talk about all those other nouns that we cannot be able to feel, to touch them or feel them physically. And when you talk about concrete nouns, we have books, pens, desks, lights, bags, and all those that we can be able to touch and feel them physically. So that makes the difference between concrete and abstract nouns. Now, when another interesting fact about nouns, which is number 5, I think, is collective nouns are quirky. And when I talk about collective nouns, what do I mean by collective nouns? Collective nouns are actually those nouns that we form from a basic word that refers to a general group of things. One basic form of a word that refers to other group of things. Now I'll explain that better. And when you say that collective nouns are quirky, what do we mean? And the word here is quirky. And what does quirky mean? Quirky means that these words can be unusual, but in an interesting way. Words that can be unusual, but in an interesting way. And that's why we are saying collective nouns are quirky. So that we have those nouns, we have those collective nouns that are unusual, but in an interesting way. And you'll actually love listening to them. You love even telling them as examples. What are some of these collective nouns that are quirky? For example, when someone says a murder of cows, the word there is murder, which can be used in very many other meanings or examples to mean different things. But when we're referring to a group of cows, we shall call it a murder of cows. When you are referring to lions, we shall call it a pride of lions. When we are referring to owls, we shall call them a parliament of owls. And that makes nouns so interesting that you will find some of the words that you've interacted with in different other sessions, but when you get them under collective nouns, they can be unusual in an interesting way to make now the collective noun that we are looking for. When you talk about parliament of owls, when you talk about a pride of lions, when you talk about a murder of cows. So collective nouns can be quirky, and that is one of the interesting and fascinating things about a noun. Now, that's number 5. Number 6, we can also say that proper nouns don't follow regular grammar rules. Proper nouns do not follow regular grammar rules. Now, all of us know something about proper nouns, and we all know what proper nouns are from the word proper. When you talk about proper nouns, these are nouns that refer to specific things. It can be people, it can be places, it can be things. So why they do not follow proper grammatical rules, and this all of us know, is because proper nouns will always have a capital letter. No matter the part that they appear, or regardless of where they appear in a sentence, proper nouns will always have the words beginning with a capital letter. And that's why we say that proper nouns do not follow the regular grammar rules, because they, regardless of where they appear, they'll always come out strongly and they'll always come out with capital letters. Examples of places that you know, for example, London. For example, if someone can say Nairobi, Mombasa, Githunguri, Australia. So those particular names of places or countries no matter or regardless of where they appear in a sentence, they will always begin with a capital letter. Now, that's another interesting fact about nouns. Number 7, we can also say that nouns can also act as adjectives. What do I mean when I say that nouns act as adjective? We have some instances that nouns will act as adjectives. Remember what adjectives are. Adjectives are specifically used to describe a noun. But we are saying that we have instances where nouns act as adjectives. And when we look at these nouns acting as adjectives, especially in something called noun phrases, when you interact with noun phrases, most of the time you'll find that most of these noun phrases will have a noun that is functioning as an adjective. And by this I mean we will have a noun that is describing another noun. And so the first noun has been used as an adjective to describe the second noun. And I've said this one happens mostly in noun phrases. And let me give you an example. We can have a noun phrase like chocolate cake. So the first word, chocolate, is a noun. The second word, cake, is a noun. But the first noun, which is chocolate, is being used to describe the second noun, which is a cake. And if someone now asks you which type of cake is that, it's a chocolate cake. So it's a cake, but the first noun, which is chocolate, is being used to describe the second noun. And so making the first noun being used as an adjective to give us the meaning of the second noun. I'll give you another example, and we have another example like gold necklace. Gold necklace. So the word necklace is a noun. The word gold is a noun. But the first noun, which is gold, is being used to describe another noun, which is necklace. In a case where someone asks you which type of necklace was that, you'll tell them it was a gold necklace. So in noun phrases like these ones, another interesting fact is you will find nouns that will act as adjectives. And in that, they'll take the position of the adjective and actually describe another noun. That is another interesting fact about nouns. Now, I don't know, we are number 7. Now, something about compound nouns. That's another interesting fact about nouns. Compound nouns are everywhere. You will find compound nouns in very many instances or things or places or random ideas. And when we talk about compound nouns, it's simply compound nouns are always formed by using two existing words, where two existing words are taken and then they can be able to, for example, toothbrush, for example, football, sunshine. When you take sun plus shine, sunshine. When you take tooth plus brush, toothbrush, football, foot plus ball. So compound nouns majorly formed by adding two existing nouns to form a compound noun. Now, the second last something that you will never be told about a noun is nominalization. There's something called nominalization. Now, what is nominalization? Nominalization is simply changing a word that is not a noun into a noun. Nominalization is simply changing a word which is not a noun into a noun. I'll give you an example. For example, the word decide. The word decide is a verb, but you can change it into a noun to make it what? Decision. For example, we can have the word run. Run is a verb. You can change it. The process of changing it from a verb to now a noun, or changing a word that is not a noun into a noun, is called nominalization. So run can be changed to runner, and very many other examples of words that can be changed from this part of speech into a noun. The last part of it, and the last interesting, fascinating fact that you will never be told about a noun is Every sentence needs a noun. There is no sentence that can happen without a noun. Every other sentence needs a noun. And why do most sentences need a noun? Is because most of the sentences revolve around a subject and an object. And that can be a discussion for another day. Most of the sentences revolve around a subject and an object. And in most cases, the subjects are always nouns. For example, if I'm saying Tom is playing the ball, Tom is the noun, the subject. When I say the books were collected by the teacher, the books become the subject, and definitely those are nouns. So everywhere, every other sentence, every other time you speak, you will always use a noun. And those are 10 interesting facts about nouns that you will never be told about. Thank you. This has been Knowledge Quest Lighthouse. See you on the next video.